Hi, everyone. It is Jaime Jo Wright here at MadLit Musings, and today I have with me Laura Thomas. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you so much for having me, Jaime Jo. I'm thrilled.
It's super fun. I'm super excited to talk with you. We've never actually met in person, and now's not the time to tell me we have, because then I'll be really embarrassed if I
No,
like.
you're safe. You're safe.
Okay. I was like, I'm saying that out loud, and then I'm going, oh shoot, what if we did and I don't remember?
No, it's all good. This is this time.
All right, perfect, perfect. So you are in Canada, but you hail from England,
That's
correct?
correct. Yes. Yes.
All
I'm an
right.
English girl, but I'm also Canadian. Little half and half.
Okay. A little
Yes.
bit half and half. All right. That sounds great. And what part of Canada are you in?
British Columbia.
Oh, you are.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Actually, Kelowna, which is in the Okanagan Valley, wine
okay.
country. Yes.
Oh,
It's
ooh.
very beautiful here. We have all the seasons. We have the white Christmas. We have long hot summers, and
Yeah,
it's gorgeous.
a
We
little
love
bit of everything. That's awesome.
it.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you on because you write romantic suspense,
Yeah.
which I love anything suspenseful. And it's also set in England, which is
Mhm.
exciting because a lot of romantic suspense, at least in the Christian market, is set in the United States. So
True.
it's fun to have an English setting. So tell us about your book.
Sure. Well, in case anybody's watching
Right.
on the YouTube, this is the cover,
Love it.
captured in frame. There's our little protagonist there. So Georgia Brooks is actually a photographer,
Okay.
and she's Canadian. She hails from Vancouver, and she's actually just gone through a really traumatic breakup, actually a divorce.
Hmm.
So she's kind of in the healing process, and she decides
Sure.
to go and live over in this beautiful, idyllic little country village where her grandparents lived, and she actually bought the cottage, the little pink cottage that's actually on front of the cover there.
I
She
love
bought
it.
that little pink cottage from her grandma years ago, and kind of just kept it. And so now this is her opportunity to kind of maybe
Okay.
see if she wants to live there or not. She's
Hmm.
got two sisters who are twins,
Okay.
and one of them actually lives in that village in England.
Hmm.
So she's looking forward to connecting with her again as well. The
Okay.
other one is in Paris, not too far away. But of course, things don't go to plan.
No, they never do. They never do.
They never do. And you can see straight away on that first page that her first night in this cottage alone, and things start going horribly wrong. And she's caught up in the middle of something she had no idea about, sort of
Okay.
the ugly underbelly of the art world.
Ooh.
There's a whole criminal ring, there's a
Ooh.
murder, there's lots of suspense in this serene, beautiful little picturesque village.
Now that's not supposed to happen.
I
It's
know.
supposed to be peaceful with rose gardens and teapots.
That was the idea. Yes.
That was her idea. And she's like, wait, what just happened?
Yeah.
This just exploded.
Yes.
And I'm assuming there's a love interest too, because if it's romantic suspense, there's probably a love interest
That's what the
somewhere.
probably is. Yes,
Yeah, kind of stand to
absolutely.
reason.
And of course, he's a handsome English surgeon, a pediatric surgeon.
Okay.
He has some baggage of his own, and he actually has a little 2-year-old named Jack, who
Okay.
readers tell me is like such a highlight in the book, which I'm thrilled about because,
I love
didn't
it.
know, but
Mhm.
apparently Jack is a real star. So little Jack, yeah, he's in there as well. But
I
yes,
love it.
it's the surgeon.
The surgeon with the little
Yeah,
boy.
yes.
See, now you got me trying to speak English, and it's not working. I mean, I'm speaking English, but I'm
You are. You're doing a great job.
English. Thanks. We did keep a few things from the motherland here in America. English was one of them, although we probably shifted a lot of them over
Yeah,
too.
well, I'm not saying anything.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, so we are in England in an idyllic village, which is every woman's dream. I think, at least it's mine. I'm all up for this. Now, Bramble Cottage, that's the place that she purchased. That was her grandparents. Is it based off of a real location?
Funny you should ask about that.
Right. Right. Well, I'm
Okay.
hoping it's based off a real
Yes.
location.
It actually is.
Okay.
So I got the inspiration for this story back in 2019
Okay.
when all my family was still in England.
Okay.
So I was back, actually, I was visiting my sister, whose husband is a vicar, and they had
Okay.
a little vicarage in this beautiful, quintessential little English village in the middle of the countryside.
Uh-huh.
Literally, you had to wait for the donkeys to move out of the little winding road so you could drive along.
Oh, I love
You know,
that.
church bells would ring, and
Oh,
it was everything you dream it would be. And I
yeah.
got to stay there with them for a few days. And I've been wanting for a few years to actually write something based in England. So I'm
Okay.
like, oh, this I want to capture this somehow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it was so serene and so peaceful. There clearly had to be something horrific that happened now. So literally, and I do actually, I sort of dedicate this book to my sister Heidi because
Okay.
I freaked her out somewhat one night. We were just sitting in her living room, just the two of us, and it was pouring down with rain. It was a January miserable evening.
Mm-hmm.
And they had like these patio French doors at the back of their living
Okay.
room, and it was all dark outside. And then I'm not one who usually gets really vivid visuals, but
Okay.
suddenly had this visual of a guy up against the screen like this, all like one of those oilskin coats, head
Oh,
to toe,
yes.
big bushy beard, just like staring in at us.
Oh,
And so I literally had a visceral reaction to it. And she was like,
yeah.
What? And I'm like, oh, nothing, nothing. But imagine if there was some great big grizzly guy at your window there and we're in here alone. And she was like, just kind of going on my storyline. And
Yeah.
yeah, totally freaked her out. But it was that split second. And I was like, oh yeah, this is it. This is it. This is the village. This is an interesting character. And
Sounds like it.
I know, from then on in, every time we went for a walk, I'd be like, this is where they're going to run. I found where they're going to escape and all the rest of it. And then we walked across this pink cottage and we walked past. And first of all, I'm like, oh, I want that cottage. But
Yeah,
then it's
right.
like, if I can't have it, I'll put it in my book.
There you go.
And actually a lot of everything revolves around Bramble Cottage. So it was literally, I passed by, I took a
Okay.
photograph,
Yeah.
and I was like, this is where it's going to happen.
That's so fun. That's so fun. So you have a creepy man staring in your window. That's always a great way. Does the book open with that? Like first page, look over your shoulder.
No, it doesn't. And who knows, Jamie Jo, whether it will happen or not. I'm not giving away any spoilers.
Ooh.
This was the catalyst that started
Gotcha.
everything off.
Okay.
But it does start with a bit of a chilling thing. So
That's
yeah,
good. We need chilling.
You kind of do. I mean, everybody, like you say, everyone loves the beautiful, peaceful countryside village, but
Yeah.
really, you can only read about that for so many pages.
This is true. And it's always fun when you have those settings where it's kind of juxtaposed to the actual suspense of what's going on. Like it's not just an interruption. It's like a violation to the peace.
Exactly.
And it's so much fun as a writer to do that. Like, you think you're at peace right now? Guess what? And then there's Grizzly Man at the window.
Yeah.
Or whatever happens.
Or whatever.
Whatever happens. So how do you bring the art world then, or the underbelly of the art world, into an idyllic English countryside with a Canadian inhabitant?
That's a really good question. So
I'm wondering what else you're going to introduce here. So let's keep going. This is good.
Okay, so with this series, there's three sisters. So we're gonna follow each sister.
Okay.
This is obviously the first book in the series, and I love reading romantic suspense where there's a lot of police or rescue services and all this kind of like all that sort of thing.
Yeah,
but I don't feel qualified enough to write about any of that. Well, there are enough writers out there who do such a good job.
Oh yeah.
So, right. And so I'm kind of I wanted to have a little bit of a different, more of an artsy kind of feel, even to the characters.
Yeah.
So Georgia, she's our photographer. Then the one sister is a writer, and a like part-time baker.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other sister is a retired ballerina. So they're all kind of more artsy kind of characters.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I'm in more that space than than the police, to be honest.
They're not breaking down doors.
No, not on the regular. No.
Throwing hand grenades, not your thing.
No. So I thought it would just be cool. It had to be something unexpected for her.
Okay.
So it couldn't be photography. It had to be something that was connected, but totally out of left for her.
Okay.
And so, yeah, the art, well, I just started doing some research on just like the whole, the greed that can go on in the underside of the art world, and theft and forgery and all that kind of thing. And so I just thought it would be fun to just kind of introduce that into it. Unexpected for her and unexpected for the reader.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. You know, it's funny that you mentioned, okay, this is a total Jamie moment because we're going to squirrel off onto this little trail that just went through my mind. All right. So everybody come along with me. When I was growing up, there was a board game that I played nonstop with my cousins. It was called Masterpiece. I don't know if you've ever heard of this game. It's old. No. It's not like I don't think they make it anymore.
Okay.
And in the game, it's all about an art auction. All right. Okay. And so you have these cards that are the pictures of actual famous paintings. And so you have a deck of cards of famous paintings, and then you have a deck of cards with monetary values on them. Right. So when you land on certain squares, you get a painting for whatever reason, and you match it with whatever monetary value is secretly hidden beneath that one card. So then you have this art gallery that you own. And each painting has an associated price, and then you go to auction and you try and scam people because some of your paintings are forgeries. And it's a fun game, but I learned more about art, like classic art, from that game because each art card has who it's by, the history of the painting on the back. And I was the nerd who would not just play the game, but I would like, we must read the cards and know what the painting is.
Love it.
So it was so much fun.
To resurrect that game.
I still have it. I still have that game. I do. And my kids love to play it, although they're not quite so thrilled about reading each card.
In detail, yeah.
Yeah, right. But every time anybody talks about art or like the underbelly of the art world, I'm instantly transported back to those days when I was trying to scam my cousin with a Van Gogh that was a forgery. And I like walked away, I think it was like $1 million in that auction. And he was so upset with me. But I'm like,
that might crop up in one of your future books.
It might. Never know. So anyway, thank you for going on that little trail with me. Now we'll come back to your book.
It's fun. That was fun. Yeah. I feel like I need to try and get it somewhere. Yeah.
It's really cool. I think it was made by, I don't remember, one of those famous game places, that made Monopoly and all that.
Yeah.
But it was a really popular game back in like the 70s and 80s. And then we inherited it. In the 80s. And that's all I'll say about my age. It was in the late 80s that I started playing Masterpiece.
Maybe it didn't make it over the pond.
And maybe it didn't.
I'm not sure.
Maybe it didn't.
Yeah.
And whoever named the ocean a pond?
I don't know.
Because let's just say there's nothing too more different than the bodies of water, a pond, and an ocean.
It may be just to make us feel better if we're apart from loved ones. Just over the pond.
Just over the pond. That's true. That's true.
We'll go with that.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Okay. And we're going to come back to your book. So I'm really curious about this art underbelly thing, though. So is there art in the town that shows up stolen or forgeries, or how does she actually get sucked into something that is somewhat related to her creative expertise, but not?
Yeah. Well, this is where it gets tricky because I don't want to give away any spoilers.
I know, that's the hard part.
Isn't it hard when you're talking about a suspense book? It's like you want to give a few little teasers.
Right.
What can I say? Okay, I guess I can say that there's photographic evidence of certain things that went on. Oh. And she becomes privy to... She has a dark room in her cottage, which is very fun, until it's not fun.
Until it's not fun. Beware the dark room.
I know.
Dun, dun.
I know.
This is good.
Actually, at one point during the story, I'm like, should I just call this book The Dark Room? But
Ooh.
I looked it up, and there's already quite a few that are
Oh,
called The
okay.
Dark Room.
We're not very original with that title.
No,
Okay,
no, no,
moving
no.
on.
Okay,
Captured in Frame it is.
shooting frame, and like we've got the frame for like
Yes.
the painting frame, and
Yes.
also the photography frame,
Photographic frame.
and
Yep.
capturing it, and
Mm-hmm.
somebody maybe being captured physically.
Ooh.
There's lots of
Oof.
yeah.
Now, okay. This is a question that's very important to readers.
Okay.
It doesn't matter how many people you kill off in a romantic suspense novel, but do all the animals survive?
Yeah.
Because that's a deal
No
breaker for a
no
lot of
death in
people.
animals. I know this is true because in a previous book, I didn't kill a cat, but a dead cat showed up in a box.
Oh, yeah.
And but the publisher was not having any of it. They're like, no, we will get so many complaints about this. Can we please have a rat?
Yeah. You have to make it more unlikable. Yeah. Yeah. It's got to be a more unlikable animal.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was my lesson learned. So
Okay.
no
No cats, no dogs, no horses harmed. The child is still alive at the end of the book.
Absolutely.
All
Yeah,
right.
the donkeys, but there's no donkeys run over down
Oh,
the
perfect.
mountain
Okay.
road.
So basically, it's a safe book to read. I mean, not saying that nobody dies. It's just not the things we care
Don't
about.
say that.
Right.
No furry animals are dead.
No furry animals are dead.
Yeah.
I always think it's funny because I was at a writers' conference one time and they were like, here's some of the unwritten rules of writing. And that was one of the things they said. Do not kill an animal and do not kill a child. I'm like, well, I get the child part.
Yeah.
I get that.
That would be traumatic.
That would be very traumatic. But I just thought it was kind of funny. Like you're writing suspense and you can off like a gajillion characters. But once you go toward the dog, all of a sudden the readers are like wide awake and they're writing emails and you're like, oh, sorry.
No,
it wasn't even a real dog. It's in my imagination.
Well.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, so, and this is published by Mountain Brook Inc., which is a Christian publisher. So I'm assuming throughout your book, there's a thread of inspiration or some spiritual themes. So tell us a little bit about when you approach your writing, how do you integrate inspiration and themes within your books?
Oh, yeah. There's no hard, fast rule as to how it comes. Like with this particular book, I think the setting came first, to be honest, with that trip, right? But I let that percolate for a while. With this story, it's really the overarching theme is forgiveness.
Okay.
And it's a story for sure of second chances, obviously, with Georgia and her situation and looking to start again for healing and finding hope. She is on her own kind of journey. She's a bit of a prodigal daughter.
Okay.
So growing up, she went her own way. She ended up actually marrying somebody who was a non-believer. So she's done that. Now she has come back to know the Lord and to have a deeper relationship with him. She's still teetering a little bit. She's a bit of a toddler in it still, kind of finding her way, and still she has control issues, which many of us can identify with.
I don't know that anybody will relate to that, but whatever. You can put whatever you want in your book.
So, this strange woman with control issues.
Yeah.
So it's very much handing everything over to God, and is he really trustworthy?
Right.
She's been very burned, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, I always have a verse or verses that come to mind as I'm writing, and I keep those front and center. And of course, I'm not going to know them off by heart, but Psalm 51. Do you want me to read it to you?
Yeah, go for it.
My reading glasses on.
Absolutely.
Read it to you. Should we have a moment? Here we go. From the Message, it says, "Going through the motions doesn't please you. A flawless performance is nothing to you. I learned God worship when my pride was shattered. Heart-shattered lives ready for love don't for a moment escape God's notice." So it really for her is letting everything go and handing it all over to God. Then her pride take a back seat.
Yeah.
That kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And just knowing that she really is love deeply no matter what. And then, of course, all the grenades start going off and life starts going crazy and she has to cling to something. So she sort of has to choose where she's going to cling.
Yeah. And then life does that. It kind of pushes you and you have to start making decisions. Am I going to cling to myself, my own psyche, my own abilities to figure things out, somebody else, which inevitably never goes well. I mean, it doesn't matter how amazing that individual is. They will fail you.
I know.
And
there's really no comparison to God.
There isn't. He's kind of got a proven track record.
Sometimes it takes us a while to remember.
I know. And then you're just kind of like, what's going on? And then you're like, oh, God knows what's going on. The only problem that I have, if I were to, pick a bone with God, and I'm not the first person to do that. So I just want to throw that. Like, if you've not read Psalms and King David, do not judge me for picking a bone. Mm-hmm. But he has this thing that he goes, I want you to just trust me. I'm not going to explain myself. And I'm not necessarily going to tell you where we're going. We're just going to go and just come along. And I'm like, well, you could give me
that's what trust is, though, isn't it?
Oh, I know, but I don't like it. Like, Lord, come on, just give me a little something here. Just something.
With a safety net, maybe.
Yes.
Or stabilizers or something.
Something. I mean, I don't necessarily need a whole story, but at least something. Like, if I looked at life kind of like a book, I think God gives us the back cover copy. And if you look at a back cover copy, like even with yours, it like ends with a question like, can Georgia uncover the truth in time? And it's like, God's got my life. And can Jamie survive her entire life without death to her soul? So like all these, like, I think that's how God writes our stories. He's like, I'm going to give you the last question and then we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
And it's like,
interesting. It really does.
It does. Very interesting. But it's a good journey. And it's neat to see that in fiction, in characters' lives too.
Yeah. I like a flawed character. Mm-hmm. I like to keep it real and raw, and like nobody wants to read about Pollyanna who doesn't have any problems or baggage.
Right.
Yeah, you want somebody that readers can relate to.
Right.
Either themselves or somebody they know that maybe is going through something similar. Or
absolutely.
Yeah. I learn a lot through fiction, especially through Christian fiction. Yeah.
There's a lot of encouragement that can come through reading. And you wouldn't necessarily think, hey, I'm going to pick up a romantic suspense and I'm going to walk away encouraged in my faith. Mm-hmm. But I think that's one of the beauties of Christian fiction.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like God's using us or something.
What? What's with that? That's kind of a nice thought. That's a nice thought.
Yeah.
So this is book 1 in the Bite of Betrayal series. This one's called Captured in Frame. And then you are going to be releasing 2 more within the series, you said?
Yes. So book 2 has been written. It's about to be edited. That comes out next June, June of 2025. And then book 3 will be the following year.
Awesome.
So yeah. Each sister gets a book, which you can't just leave one out.
No, that wouldn't be very fair.
There's twins. Like, how could you do that?
Yeah, that wouldn't be fair at all. That would probably be another don't do in writing. So,
yes.
You got that right.
Don't leave the reader dangling. They don't like to be dangled.
No dangling allowed. None. So if readers want to get to know you and they want to follow you, get on your newsletter and all those fun things, what's the best way to find out more about Laura Thomas?
Go to my website, which is very easy. It's laurathomasauthor.com. laurathomasauthor.com. I do a monthly newsletter. I give away a paperback book every single month of something that I've read and I love. And it keep you up to date with my writing. I always have a baking recipe because I love to bake.
A
little soul encouragement, and just once a month, I won't spam you. Promise.
Awesome. No spam. We're good.
No.
So readers, go to laurathomasauthor.com. Sign up for her newsletter. Follow her on Amazon. She does have an author page. So that means when you follow on Amazon, when a new book is being released, you actually get an email that says, hey, heads up, there's a new book coming, which is really nice because sometimes I don't realize how often people are releasing books.
Yes.
And so I get those emails. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize another one was coming out, and I go order it. So
yeah, that's a good bonus. Yeah.
it is. It is. Well, Laura, thank you so much for being with us today. This was such a blast, and
Pleasure.
we'll have to talk more in the future.
Yes, absolutely. Find out what happens to the next sister.
Exactly. Dun, dun, dun. That was a good cliffhanger. I think we should end the podcast there.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.